All hail the power. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I realize that in most biblical accounts, when people see a messenger of God, that they are in terror, as I am at this very moment. So I'm going to just get right to the situation, sir. I don't know your name, but I believe, um, can you share your name with me, please?
Of course, my name is Michael.
Mikhail. Okay. I I'm happy to have you here with me today and a little bit terrified. I am here to talk to you about your account of what occurred on that fateful day in the city of Sodom and thereafter pertaining to Lot and his two daughters. And also his wife, because she was certainly part of this. And so I would like to know exactly, first and foremost, who are you?
I am an agent of the Lord.
And why were you in Sodom on that day?
As an agent of the Lord, we were sent down to earth to investigate the cries and the accusations of what just was occurring and taking place in the city of Sodom.
And so were you alone or did you have someone with you?
I had two co-agents with me.
Two co-agents went, so there were three of you that went to Sodom or two?
Well, there were two of us then who were in the capacity of eight as agents of the Lord.
And then the Lord himself was still talking to Abram at
Of
the,
course.
okay.
Yes,
I just wanted to be clear that you came with God himself who was in the flesh. So he, okay. So now, what was your assignment in Sodom, did you say?
we were there on a fact-finding investigatory mission.
And when you reached the gates of the city, who did you find there?
We found Lot.
And Lot is Abram's nephew.
Correct.
So Lot sees you and he's at the gates of the city. Is there any significance to that for you that he meets you at the gate of the city?
Well, from what we recollect and what we experienced was that the city was in a state of terror and was under siege, and Lot felt that it was important to rescue anyone that would be victim to the mayhem and the chaos that was taking place.
So Lot had literally placed himself in a leadership role in a city that he himself thought was a wicked place. Yes?
Yes, he
And
felt, if I understood correctly, he felt it was important to stay in keeping with the covenant that had been established with God.
I'm not sure to what covenant you are referring, but let me just ask you this question. If you are a person with a family and you have relocated to a city that you find to be very wicked, what kind of recommendations would you make to that person about whether or not they should stay there or look for another place?
Well, I think under his understanding, it was his obligation and his duty to maintain and to restore the justice of God. And I think it's important that he live up to and live out those tenets of his teachings, of the Lord's teachings. But I would recommend that if it is not a safe and sound place to be in, that one seek refuge elsewhere.
Yes, that is. And so when you arrive at the gate of the city, Lot takes you and your companion to his home where he feeds you and creates accommodations. Then what happens?
Well, as Lot was fulfilling his hospitable obligations and duties, there was a great knock and a pounding at the door, and I believe the mob was coming to ascend upon his home and to seize.
Who sees what?
Well, that was not entirely clear. They made demands to send us out so that they could get to know us, whereas we understood them to be of ill repute and up to no good.
Was this just a handful of people or a large throng?
This was a sizable number of the city, young and old.
Ah, and so what was Lot's way of handling this situation?
Well, I think Lot found himself in a quandary in that he knew that he could not give up his guest as sacrifices to this mob. And in turn, he thought he could buy some time or buy some leeway by offering up his virgin daughters.
And how did his daughters respond when they heard him say that he would be willing to send them out and that the crowd could do with them as they would?
Well, I can only imagine the terror and the trauma that they must have felt.
And I'm sure his wife felt that terror and trauma too. So we know that that didn't happen because there was a way that you intervened in the situation. So what did you do?
We intervened on behalf of Lot and his family, and we cast our powerful spell upon the mob.
And what exactly did you achieve by using the powers that you have?
Our supernatural powers blinded them.
Yes. Okay. And so that seemed to calm the situation down. And in the morning, what, according to the account, you or your companion grabbed up Lot's daughters and his wife and started them on their way out of the city. And Lot was lingering. Why would Lot be lingering when he knows that there is an urgency to leave the city?
Well, I can only imagine that he had a stake and a vested interest in the losses that he was going to incur upon leaving and fleeing the city of Sodom. He needed to round up his son-in-laws, to gather them and to get them to join him in the escape. He needed to put his matters or business affairs to rest. And I don't think he quite understood the severity and the ominence of what was about to take place. I don't think he quite grasped yet the power and the authority to which we were speaking with.
After all parties had left and were fleeing Sodom, do you think he began to understand, and what caused him to understand?
Well, we made it clear to him in our instructions that if they were to abandon the city by the following morning, they would get out safely. And he needed to negotiate on behalf of some intermediate things that he wanted to do in the city of Zor, which he felt was a safe haven for him to escape to. And we capitulated on that and said we would let him go to Zor, but in the meantime, that they were not to look back under no circumstances were they to turn back around and look back at the city of Sodom. For if they did, the peril and the destruction that took place in Sodom would occur on them as well.
So, does anyone look back?
I'm afraid Lot's wife was afflicted with the perils that were cast upon Sodom.
And what happened to her?
She was turned into a pillar of salt.
And did her children and her husband see her, a former living woman, now dried out and a pillar of salt? Did they witness that?
I'm afraid they did.
How traumatic do you think that was?
Well, if you look at the accounts and the testimony of what occurred later, I think it had a grave impact upon the daughters and that they were distraught and that they were now motherless and without future husbands.
Now, I'm just going to ask you one last question, sir, and that is, did you find Lot to be agreeable in general to your suggestions or directions as you were leaving Sodom, or did he appear to be always grappling with perhaps a better idea than the one that you were offering?
Well, I think it would only be fair to say that when a human is called to a prophetic voice or a prophetic position, it's not always easy to step into that role and into that place without full knowledge and full understanding. So I think any resistance on his part was not so much in a defiant nature as it was in trying to grapple and grasp the magnanimity of the situation. So I think Lot was really trying to come up with a situation, a solution that was amenable and workable in his human limited understanding.
I think that that is so well said, and I want to thank you for for responding to my request to talk with you as a representative and a witness to one of the most um, troubling texts in the Bible. Believe me, there are plenty, but this one is truly disturbing. But I want to thank you for bringing clarity to it, and I want you to understand also from my perspective that this is simply I'm calling it a preliminary hearing, but there won't be a follow-up hearing because what we're trying to do is hear different sides of a story that troubles us to determine. Angels must be singing now. Is that what's going on? To determine uh, why we cannot make rash, quick judgments about things that we read in the Bible because it occurs in a different time and space than the one that I come from. So it's not always such an easy thing to comprehend.
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts.
Thank you, sir. It has been my great pleasure to interview you, and I guess I could sing a song. Lord, give me two wings. Fare thee well.
I bid you adieu. I can't believe that, Patty. I put my phone on silence and do not disturb, but I think when I went in Zoom, it must have taken it off. I apologize.
Not a problem.
I'm trying, girl. I'm trying.